Hi, my name is Phil and I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss calls for changes to shipping between the Republic of Ireland to other EU nations via the UK, and on calls for the Irish government to consider changing them as a matter of urgency. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So recently I've talked a lot about the severe delays that the leaked UK government reports are still saying that are going to result from a no-deal Brexit. That is, of course, ruinous for the UK people and its economy. But Ireland has also found it expedient to export goods to continental Europe via Great Britain. As a result, the Irish Times was reporting that there's increasing pressure on the Irish government to push ahead with plans for shipping routes that bypass the UK entirely. The problem, apparently, is that there are 150,000 units taking the route through the UK every year, and that there isn't really the capacity at the moment to use other shipping lanes to divert them away from Britain. The Irish government, which from now on I'm just going to call the government, has been saying that they will increase capacity from Dublin to Cherbourg, but the capacity isn't there to accommodate all of the freight that currently goes through the UK. Or rather, not in time. The government insists that this shipping lane is not used that much and could easily be increased to cope with the extra demand, but the hauliers' complaints are that they don't have the time to take that route and then get their goods to where they need to be. The just-in-time supply chain is the key concern, and that of time-sensitive fresh food. I can't help feeling sorry for the situation that the government finds itself in due to the actions of a mad dog neighbour. The issue for hauliers is that they need to get a great deal of their freight to the Netherlands, for example, but there's this bloody great island in the way called Great Britain. Going through it is the usual solution, but if ports get blocked up, then going around it, well, that's going to take longer than it normally would. You can sail to France and then drive it around to Northern Europe, but that takes longer as well. So what do? The government have suggested trying to use other ports, but I imagine that's fraught with danger as well. What if the UK government has plans for those ports that they're not telling anyone about? What if they just make things up as they go along and no shipping routes involving travel through Great Britain are predictable? I mean, the UK government has been keeping their plans and assessments secret. If it weren't for people leaking them, nobody would know anything at all about what's going to happen in the event of a no-deal Brexit. But if I'm honest, and I'm not an expert on the logistics of freight, I'm not entirely sure what the government can do about this. I mean, any route that does not go through Great Britain has to go around, and that means delays. And if you do go through Great Britain, that means delays as well. It stands to reason that the routes being taken now are the most efficient ones, so I'm not quite sure what Irish businesses expect the government to do beyond putting more research into the production of magic wands. So whatever hauliers decide to do, there are delays either way. It's just going to be a case of deciding which route has the reliably shortest delays, to my mind. And increasing capacity along those routes, it's ultimately, this has meant that in the independent international assessments of the economic impact of Brexit, Ireland was second only to the UK in being royally screwed by it. I would say that this is just unfortunate for those Irish businesses that need to export to Northern Europe as opposed to Western Europe, where they may be fine, but it's not unfortunate, is it? It's a deliberate act of vandalism, like your neighbour burning down their house because they were upset at the wallpaper. They didn't mean to burn your house down too, but you're getting scorched all the same. To highlight the scale of the problem, the freight through Great Britain generally means travel times of about 10 hours. Taking alternative routes means between 20 and 40 hours. You can see the difference that this is going to make, and in the best case scenarios it will mean much greater costs for those businesses due to the extra transport and time. In the worst case, Irish producers simply cannot meet the delivery times required and they lose out on that business entirely. Of course, cases like this are likely to form the basis of litigation against the UK government in the event of following through on this Brexit madness. After all, if the UK government gave certain assurances, like traffic's going to flow easily through the ports, and businesses adapted based on those assurances, and then they did something different too quickly for anyone to react, or the situation was not as promised, then there will definitely be cases for suing the UK government. Not that I'd expect it to be a deterrent. It's not like it's money that they'll be shelling out. Conservative governments in general don't mind squandering public money and then blaming it on Labour. And that's from relatively responsible Tory governments. This lot seem to see a benefit in actively trashing UK finances in order to make their rich mates even richer. But it won't necessarily help those Irish businesses if they struggle to stay in business. Once you lose customers, it's not easy to get them back or find new ones. Retention of customers is always the easiest route. And so, for the second time this week, I have to find myself apologising to Ireland for the behaviour of the UK government. If this chaotic Brexit occurs, and I still say the chances are low, then the impact will be sorely felt, and it will be inevitably breeding resentment when we decide that we'd like to stop behaving like a bad neighbour to our European partners, and Ireland in particular. It is, as they say, an ill wind that blows nobody any good, but then it's for that reason that I still have faith that Parliament will block it. I'm not sure how. There is one very easy way to do it, which may or may not be done, but I believe the will is there in Parliament to do what's necessary. And I also assure people outside of the UK that the number of people who want this chaos is not in any way a majority, and certainly not in Parliament itself. But there it is. Hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.